Okay, welcome everybody. Today, I would just like to do a very small video, just adding to the part one of the Antichrist identity revealed by Rabbi Elijah Michaels that I did, and there was something that I forgot to add that I thought was very important, so I'll just add that today. It was concerning the birthday, Leo BLAIR's birthday, in connection to the planet alignment that the astronomers recognized that happened. It was very unusual at the time of Leo BLAIR's, that Tony Blair's son's birthday. So I'm going to go into that with you to show you the amazing coincidences that happened, not just with the conception of Leo BLAIR inside of his mother's womb, but also the actual birth in connection. It synchronizes with the two alignments of the planets in 1999 and 2000. Okay, so remember we talked about in the last video, just quickly recap, that in Genesis 1:14 God said he provides the lights in the heavens that will be signs and omens for you, and he highlights the two great lights shall be the greater light shall rule the day and the lesser light shall rule the night, alluding to there shall be two events, two people born that shall have an amazing effect upon the whole world. One will be the Messiah and the other one will be the opposite to the Messiah, which some people call the Antichrist, or the Muslims call Jewel, or the Jews call the beast. Okay, and that's what the lesser light that will rule the night, meaning a time when the world is very, very dark. Okay, so then let's go back to the planet alignments. The astronomers noticed that in August 1999 that the planets aligned in the Grand Cross. So what that means is that they're pulled together by a gravitational force that can be dangerous. It's hard for the planets to separate. That's in the Grand Cross, and that alignment hadn't happened since 2,000 years ago at the birth of Christ, that greater light, okay, which have been documented, so, but the difference with this alignment, you had the planets that were dominant were Venus and Mercury, the atmosphere that is most dangerous for life to inhabit and live in there. And these were the two dominant planets that were being pulled in the Grand Cross inside of that alignment in 1999. So that surprised the astronomers, the scientists. But what even surprised them even more was they had waited 2,000 years for that alignment to repeat itself. Though in 2,000 years ago, Venus and Mercury were not the dominant planets inside of the Grand Cross. It was other planets. So it took 2,000 years for that alignment in the Grand Cross to happen again, which happened in August 18th, 1999. But what shocked the scientists, now listen to this, 9 months later, okay, and May the 5th, the alignment repeated itself, with again Venus and Mercury being the dominant planets, being pulled toward each other in the alignment in the Grand Cross. Wow, 2,000 years to wait for the next one, and then this time only 9 months. Well, you know, it does not take rocket science to figure out. It takes 9 months for a child to grow in the womb. And this is what I forgot to tell you. So the first alignment was in August 18th, 1999. And then it took 9 months for the alignment, for the next alignment to repeat itself in May the 5th. Now, what has that got to do with the birth of the Antichrist? Well, if you remember, I showed you that we followed the star like the wise men in Matthew chapter 2 in Bethlehem. Now, remember when we looked at the story, the star obviously wasn't shining over the stable, because then everybody would have went there. It was something that that's why it's called the wise men, that they could figure out with their astronomy charts, okay? So when I begin to look in all the cities of the world back in May year 2000, I couldn't find any city where Venus and Mercury was all over the news headlines. So I looked every city, New York, Washington, Moscow, Peking, all the cities around the world, except when I came to the London newspapers. All over the newspapers, this alignment, they had on the back of the newspaper the word Venus, and on the front of the newspaper they had the word Mercury, which is quite shocking. Wow, this alignment. So it was showing you that in the city of London, the stars in the sky was pointing to that the birth of this Antichrist, of this lesser light. Of course, the moon has no light, okay? It's an illusion. It gets its light from the sun. So someone is going to be born that's going to look like a Messiah figure, but in fact, he has no light at all that life can live in there. It's opposite. So here we have on the newspapers, here we have in London, on the same newspaper, Venus on the back and Mercury at the front, okay? Now, the Venus at the back was now pointing to the coming news that Venus Williams hadn't yet won her first major tennis title. So, of course, God kept that from her until this alignment. And the killer of Jill Dando, the news presenter, had been found, okay? And they found his home had been a temple to what he said was his cousin, Freddie Mercury. And he was offended by what Jill Dando said, allegedly, that he allegedly killed her because of something that she said against Freddie Mercury, the rock star, and he made his flat a shrine to Freddie Mercury. So God kept the killer from being found until the alignment. Now remember, wisdom, the wise men. So inside of that, I could see that over the city of London, that child was born. Now we have to go back to the alignment. To fulfill the alignment, the child must be conceived on the 18th of August 1999, for that was the first alignment, and the child must be born 9 months later on the 5th of May, the year 2000. So remember, we talked about that the Antichrist will be different than the Mashiach, the Messiah, because the Messiah was born in the lowest place of the land. That was the stable, okay? But the Antichrist shall be born inside of the highest seat of the land, okay? So when I was looking at the newspapers, I had to find a child that was born in the highest seat of the land, okay? And there we have in the newspapers what was found. Tony Blair's son, Leo Blair, was born, okay? And that is the first ever time in modern politics had a child from a British Prime Minister been born whilst the Prime Minister was serving at number 10 Downing Street. Notice the word down. Okay, this birth is going to take the world down. 10 Downing Street, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, going down, not up. That's what this child will be responsible. And if you look at Venus in the newspapers on the back, she going to win her first major title, but at the front, the killer of had the flat as a shrine for Mercury has been found. So what the news is telling us, here in the city of London is born a major killer, Mercury, okay, that shall be responsible for many deaths on the planet. Now, so there you see, he was conceived. Sherry Blair said, her and her husband Tony Blair was on a visit to Balmoral Castle, and whilst on that visit, she conceived by accident because she forgot the contraceptives by accident, and there was the conception of Leo Blair, which when the first alignment occurred back in August 18th, 1999. Coincidence? I don't think so. Okay, and there we go. He was born on actually the 20th of May. Now that's 15 days after the 5th of May. So people would say, therefore it can't be him. Well, let's look at what the astronomers noticed. They noticed that the alignment in May the 5th, year 2000, was at a, listen to this, 15-degree angle, which means 15 days time from the 5th of May, this child shall be born, which makes it the 20th of May. So the conception of this child, Leo Blair, and the birth of this child, Leo Blair, coincides perfectly with the both alignments which the scientists, the astronomers have waited 2,000 years for, which again 9 months later repeats itself, all perfectly synchronizing with the conception and the birth of Leo Blair. Okay, so that is what I forgot to highlight on the first part of the Antichrist identity revealed. Okay, so what also I didn't add this, that was the importance of the mother and father. The father, Tony Blair, he is known as a man of peace before the end of his prime ministership, because he was responsible for gaining the peace in Northern Ireland and became very famous in the world, received a standing ovation when he visited the Senate inside of America, which hadn't happened before. So he was known in the world as for peace. But to the end of his prime ministership, he was actually known as a warmonger, where many wanted him for war crimes. Now remember, we talked about in the other video, the Antichrist identity revealed, that the coming of this person, the Antichrist, the beast, shall be known as someone who is for peace, and he shall deceive many through peace, but to the end he wants the destruction of many in the world, including Israel. Okay, and following in the footsteps of his father, who became a hero through peace, but to the end went to war without just cause. And remember, we talked about in Daniel 7 in the last video that he shall change laws and season. Now remember, his mother, Cherry Blair, is a judge, therefore laying the foundation for him to learn about laws and how to change laws. So the mother and the father was chosen very carefully for him to understand laws and to understand the art of gaining peace and also making war. All the ingredients that Daniel talks about when it talks about the coming of this Antichrist. And of course, his father, Tony Blair, became the peace envoy to Israel, which again, Daniel talks about that he shall destroy many in Israel and shall invade Israel, but first on the pretense of peace. So again, you see, his father, Tony Blair, has laid down all the ingredient foundation for the Antichrist to learn from, for him now to fulfill all the prophecies spoken about him inside of the book of Daniel. Praise be to God. So I hope that helps you. Try to match this with all the information that I gave and write this down on the video, the Antichrist Antichrist Full Identity Revealed by Rabbi Elijah Michaels. Okay, for this video shall be titled something different. It is Tony Blair's son Leo Blair the Antichrist? This is the title of this video. So praise God. I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope you can match it with the facts, that astrological facts that I've given you, to show that it's something not according to feelings. It's something that even inside of scientists and astronomy point us towards who this person shall be, coupled together with all the information in the scripture, leaves us with no doubt whatsoever that Leo Blair is the Antichrist. Praise be to God.